Welcome to another In Wheel Time podcast, a 30-minute mini version of the In Wheel Time car show that airs live every Saturday morning, 8 to 11 a.m. Central.
It's the In Wheel Time car talk show. Coming up, it's an appearance more rare than chicken's teeth.
Oh!
One of the triplets from the Emmons Automotive Dynasty. We'll talk drag racing and used cars. Conrad has This Week in Auto History, and we'll get you caught up on the stories making car news this week. Howdy, along with Mike out of this world Mars, King Conrad DeLong. We need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong, and thanks so much for joining us today. Let's just get right to the business. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us live from the Emmons Metroplex down there in Webster, Texas, it's Jammin' Jerry Emmons.
Woohoo! Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
You go, man.
You go, man.
You need dreadlocks,
guys,
man. You need dreadlocks.
Looks like he's in the Wally World office here with all the Wallies behind him.
Wow.
I just had this done. Prior to this, they're all scattered throughout the house, and so my wife said you had to get him out of the bedroom. So we had to do something here at work.
Well, that's very nice. What are the ones on the very tip top up there?
So those are the Lucas Oil divisional races.
Yep.
And the ones here on the second level are Lucas Oil divisional championships. Like throughout the year you win either a world championship or a divisional championship. So these are divisional championships, and these are some of the national events that we've won, like at Houston, Dallas, Vegas, Pomona, that kind of thing.
Sweet.
Just to name a few.
Just to name a few. That's right.
Well,
And if you look behind us, we don't have any of those.
We don't have a one.
We have one from Lupe Tortilla.
In other words, we suck.
Yeah. Well,
Okay?
well,
I'm still waiting on one.
the last interview we had, I promised you guys we were going to get you the next Wally that we win. So the next national event that we attend, that will be trying to achieve collectively between my brothers and I, it will be our 50th national event win. So we want to commemorate that. That's why I promised you that. I want to give you the 50th national event win.
Woo-hoo.
So that's what we're going to try
I'm
to
going
achieve.
to clean a spot off for it right now.
Well, I follow you guys on social media, and you have introduced a new 69 Camaro. Is that correct?
Oh, and do I have a story for that? Absolutely.
Well, we want to hear it. Let's go.
So this car was built several years ago by the California car cover people, Jim DeFrank. His son drove it for many years. Jimmy DeFrank won a lot of national events with it, won a lot of divisional championships with it. So he recently sold it to a mutual friend of ours. He didn't have it very long, maybe 12 months. And then we decided that we needed another 69 Camaro. So we decided to purchase it. And the funny story is that our first race that we went to, so my older brother, Harvey, which otherwise known as Speedy, he was taking it to the local, out to Baytown, just to kind of get used to the characteristics of the car. And loved it, had no problem. So we brought it home, got it wrapped just before our first race in Belrose, Louisiana. And unbeknownst to us, so in NHRA, if you run 9.99 or quicker, you have to have a window net, and you have to have a full, roll cage,
right?
Which that car does have. Well, it had the window net bracket, but not the actual net. And we didn't realize it until we were getting the car wrapped a few days before the event. So as we're loading the car, we said, oh my goodness, we're missing the net. And the weather was pretty good. We thought we could go in the nines, not trying to, but we need to be careful. So you're going to love this story. This is good. So we end up going to the event. We call the guy we bought the car from and say, hey, we realized that the window net is not in the car. Can you overnight that to us? So this was on a Thursday. He overnighted it. But I guess wherever it went to, the hub of FedEx, it was snowed in over there. So they never could get it to us. So it arrived on a Monday of the event. Well, on Sunday of the event, my older brother, Speedy, was running. And I think it was the second or third round. He had a competition by only because his opponent had some family business he had to attend to. So at this time we were going, he was shutting off every run because he was able to, and he was going like 10:03, 10:04 at 100. Well, if he would have held it to the floor, it would have been 130, 132 miles per hour. So now that he had an opportunity to make a clean run to see what we could really get, so we could get a good dial in on it, we said, well, how about this? So that car is one of the little tricks. It's actually a pretty good setup. I know in the past you guys have heard me talk about we have to be very strategic on what we do. during our qualifying runs, and we add weight. Sometimes we add oil to the motor. The more quarts of oil you add to the engine, the slower it will go. So what we do, let me show you this. So we have on our big block 69 Camaros, we have a 780 poly carburetor.
Yep.
Okay. So I don't know if you can see this. I'll try to put it up to the camera. To see this little rod right here.
Yes.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So that control, this is a vacuum secondary 780. So what the carburetor has, it has about 4 holes drilled in this rod right here. So what we do, we put a cotter pin in it, and if you go about halfway up in that rod, the cotter pin will slow it down probably 12 to 15 hundredths of a second. It's pretty consistent. Now, the only drawback is that it doesn't leave really high with the wheels in the air, but we can loosen the front end up with the shocks and make it work pretty good. Okay, so getting back to that run. So we thought, okay, how about this? We need a good run. We need to be conservative. We don't want to go in the low 10-0s because it's too close to the 990 mark. We're going to put this pin back in, get a good dial and run. We think we should go 10-15. Worst case, we'll go 10-20. So we get up there. He makes a run because he's by himself. This is like second or third round. And he goes down there, and he goes 999.8.
Uh-oh.
So we have no window net. So we pull off to the scales. He weighs his car. The NHRA tech officials come over and say, okay, we want to check your roll cage tag, make sure you have everything. And so they look for the window net. Well, obviously, we don't have it. So on a single run, he gets disqualified because we have no net. Now, so you're asking me, well, how did you go 999.8 when you had the pin in the carburetor? Well, that was my responsibility. I forgot to put the pin in the secondary.
Oh,
so that fell on me. So as karma would have it, I have to run. Our good friend, the Stan Holt. Well, he has a really good driver, a 5-time world champion, driving one of his Chevy 2s. And I'm driving a car in super stock that I have not driven in probably, it's been 10 years at least. It's a 69 Camaro convertible. So it's the same combination as I have in my stock eliminated car, which is a 396, 375 aluminum head engine. So I'm running one of Stan's cars, and we go down to the finish line. And, our game in stock and super stock is a dial in race, correct? You have to guess what you're going to run with the dial in. You go under, you lose unless the other guy, has the less infraction. So we both are really close on the tree on the reaction time. We're going down through the racetrack, and I can tell that I cannot get to the finish line first without going under, because I know what I can run. I know I can go under that. So I have to apply the brakes at some point. Well, the gentleman that Stan Holt has driving his car is doing a really good job. He rolls up right beside me, and he's pacing me. And so we're coming up to the finish line. So we both, obviously he could go under what he thought he could run. So we both jam on the brakes. Well, the problem he did a really great job. His car sat down and backed up, but I win because it was a double breakout. I went under by my estimated dial in by 1/1000th of a second. He was under by 11,000ths of a second. So double breakout, the one with the less infraction wins. So I win. But when I did, the front end kind of scooted around a little bit. No big deal. So I pull off to the scales, and hang on, they need to back up. So the run before, I was warned for excessive braking. So NHRA says if you go down there, now their rule in the NHRA rule book tells you that if you lose control of your car due to excessive braking, meaning you cross in the other lane or you hit a concrete barrier or hit an opponent, that's due to excessive braking, you're disqualified from the event. That's how it reads in the rule book. So the NHRA division director takes it upon themselves to enforce the rules of how they see fit. They have the right to do that. So the run before I ran Stan Holt's car, I went down there and got on the brakes, turned the wind light on, but the front tires kind of lock up a little bit, smokes them. I go to the scales. They say, okay, the Emmons, this is your one and only warning. If you do it again, you're out for the event. So we come right back, and I run Stan Holt's car. We go through the finish line. I smoke the tires. I didn't know that. I could feel the front end kind of move. I come back on the scales. The guy, NHRA official's rolling down there on his little mini bike, and he says, Jerry, I really hate to do this, but we warned you, you're out. So not only did I lose, I would have had to run my older brother, Speedy, in the semis. That was the quarterfinals. He ended up running up at the event, so I would have had to run him. But it all worked out. Speedy won the next round, but ended up losing the final. So that was a little karma for me for forgetting to put the pin in my brother's secondary. So,
Wow.
but we fixed the problem. So come to find out, so this car has been in the garage for quite some time. So on all of our other cars, we have a brake proportioning valve. So what that does, you tie it in for our style of cars. You tie it into the front brake line, and it has a valve that you twist, and you can regulate how much pressure is applied to the front brakes. So all I did, I installed it, and then you just turn it to, you have to make some practice runs. And then it doesn't apply more brake to the rear. It just takes away pressure from the front. So now when you go down there and you have to make a last minute call like that, you get on the brakes, the tires slow down, but they never lock. So the car just kind of sits down and backs up.
So it's like an ABS.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of like a manual ABS.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing.
You said Stan's got a 5-time champion. Is that Sheila?
Yes. No. So that was Kevin. That was Kevin Helms. He lives in Florida. Really good driver. He works on some of the factory stock teams. He's a good tuner, and he's a really good driver. So they had a good guy in the car.
Great.
But that's okay because Sheila brought over a bunch of Lupe Tortilla margaritas. So we were able to console that.
To kill the pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
No
Yes,
doubt
exactly.
about it. Okay. So, what do you think about Baytown closing down? Now they're tearing it
Heart
down.
broke.
Yeah, it breaks my heart. We grew up there, and back then you could race on a Wednesday night, a Friday night, and a Saturday. And I was 15 years old when I started racing there. So it's really heartbreaking for all of us. And it really hit when I saw the pictures on Facebook when they were tearing down the tower.
Oh, yeah.
My brothers and I have all been very blessed to be able to win several national events there, several divisional races. I actually met my wife at that facility.
Oh, wow.
And I met her there. I won my first national event there and won my first divisional race there. So for me, it had an extra little bookmark in it for being special. So when I saw the photos on Facebook of tearing down the tower, it definitely hit.
I think that what we need to work on is having the Emmons Motorplex.
Yeah.
And so you and Stan and Hultquist, all you guys can get together, pool your money, and we just build us our own setup. What do you think?
I think Dale Hultquist and Stan Holt can handle that. I'll just show up and give them my money to race, but they're pretty stacked. They can handle it.
Yeah, I got it. Well, speaking of that, I want to touch with you on the Emmons Autoplex. I was thumbing through this thing online, and it's emmonsmotorcompany.com, and it's your used car inventory. I was actually blown away. Of course, it doesn't take much for me, but I will say that there are some cars that you have on there that totally, I'm going, are you kidding me? I can't find it right now, but it was a car that only had like 25,000 miles on it, and it was under 20 grand. And you guys have those kind of cars.
It takes a lot of searching to get those. I buy a lot from the West Coast area. My brothers buy here in Texas, and we buy some in Florida. But it takes all of us 3-4 days a week culling through the inventories of these auctions to find that type of car.
And so that's where you find most of these cars at auction?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Florida seems to have a really good pick of the lower mileage cars. Sometimes in Vegas I find them, but more so in Florida and California.
Yeah, well, for instance, here's one. A 2006 Buick LaCrosse CX sedan. There's no picture of it. And it has 35,000 miles on it, V6 engine. It's a nice car. And
very nice car.
$10,500.
Whoa. Ainsley needs that.
No, he's already.
I got a granddaughter who's going to be needing something pretty soon.
David Ainsley is I think your gold star customer because he buys all of his cars from you.
I'm glad that he does. We need all of you to come by.
Yeah, exactly. But it's very interesting to me the kind of cars, the caliber of the cars that you have over there, you guys go back a number of years, and I've never heard or seen any negative comments about Emmons Autoplex.
Never.
And in the car business, negative comments are easy to come by. Yeah. And so you got a really nice, clean dealership there.
Well, thank you. And that really means a lot to all of us. And it's a struggle. I mean, there's a lot of things that go on behind the curtain to make sure that every customer, gets that great experience. We're celebrating our 50th year this year in business. We started back. These are our hats we just had made. We started with Mike Trumbull. They're a racer too. Mike Trumbull Sr. is no longer with us, but his son is still around. They race heavily into NHRA drag racing. So we started, or my dad and his dad started a business called T&E Used Cars back in 1972. That was Trumbull and Emmons. And that went on till we were probably about out of high school. And then we just kind of separated. And then just kind of, we just kind of built from there. But, one thing that's kind of crazy about the used car business, and we've always loved it. We've never had a job outside. When we were younger, we didn't go to Burger King and work at the drive-thru. My dad made us put on I remember at 5 years old, we had rain boots on and we were washing cars at T&E Used Cars. So that's all we've ever done. We just kind of worked our way up. But, there's a speech that Matthew McConaughey made years ago at I think it was the Golden Globes. It's on YouTube. You can find it. But he talks about how there are 3 things that he needs in his life to be successful. He talks about you have to have something to look up to, something to look forward to, and then someone to chase. Well, we kind of, unbeknownst to us, we kind of, follow that. Obviously our faith, we really try to do the right thing. As far as something to look forward to, well, we look forward every day. And this is not just some sales pitch I'm trying to give, but it means a lot to us if someone leaves and they're not happy. And there have been times when there has been a review come up that could have been solved, a negative review that could have been solved if the customer just would have asked to speak to someone. And but we always try to make it right. Look, it's never too late to do the right thing. And that's really what we think. And then to have that something to chase, well, I feel like we're always chasing the market. No matter how long we've been in this business, no matter what you read, how prices are going up, prices are going down. I know people say that prices are getting lower, but I don't know what lens they're looking through, because for us, the prices of cars are still high. We were really, really low. Had struggled a little bit in our first quarter. I think we sold 837 cars in the first quarter. I think now we're down. It was 730. So a little less than 7% is what we're down. And that is obviously due to the credit unions. The credit unions are being real aggressive in their financing, so we're not making the back end on some cars that we could make back end on. And I think that because the interest rates are a little bit higher, that has definitely cut down some of the sales. Our inventory is still what it was. I checked it this morning before I came on. Our inventory was within 50 cars of what it was last year in our first quarter. So it's not that we had less inventory, it's just the market. And so because of that, we need to find those, like what you just brought up, that $10,000, $12,000 car. We need to find those because we sell more of those. And honestly, our profit margin is thin, but again, if we can sell a car like that with low miles at a fair price, they're going to be happy, or we intend for them to be, and then they're going to come back or spread the word, and then we can build off of that.
You said you sold over 700 cars in the first quarter. How many cars are actually physically there? And is there a time where like this car's been sitting 30 days, or do you have that type of experience?
Absolutely. So we're very aggressive in our pricing. So we pride ourselves into being the lowest price within 300 miles. So even though a car may be inactive, it may be the lowest price online, we look at it and we're able to use our back-end tool to see if we have any action. We can tell if someone clicks on the ad of the car, if they downloaded instructions to our dealership. If they downloaded directions to our dealership. So we're able to see some information. So even though it may be the lowest price within 300 miles, if we're not getting any action that we can see, and after 30 days, it's time to readjust. So we definitely dip it down a little bit to kind of see what the problem is. Sometimes it's not price at all. It's just they're not looking. They're just not searching for that car.
Right.
So how big of an inventory do you try and keep?
We like to get to be over 900. I think right now we're at we're at 830. I'll have to double check. I think we're at 830.
So pretty much if somebody's looking for any kind of used cars, you guys with 800 plus vehicles have a high probability of having what somebody's looking
Exactly.
1,000%. It's interesting. Every night we always pull up, and I may have said this before in a previous show, but we always, before we leave, we always pull up what has sold for the day. And you can never, we're not selling 10 Jeep Wranglers Unlimiteds and 5 Chevrolet Cruises or 3 diesel trucks. It is literally between a $30,000 vehicle lifted truck. It may be a $99.95, $79.95, $69.95. It's just really all across the board. And that's the reason why we try to have so much in inventory. And we try to be very specific on no one gets dead set on buying only one particular car. We try to buy everything low mileage that we can. And even some stuff that's elevated in mileage. That's not a bad thing. The Carfax provides some good information. Remember back in the day in the 80s, I know for me, when I would clean cars for my father, the biggest thing would be is my dad would say, go open up that glove box. And you open the glove box and there would be a stack of receipts of oil changes and tire rotations. Well, so that, Carfax is kind of taking the place of that. So when we're looking at cars, we pull the Carfax and they generally will tell you the story of the car.
Fascinating. You know what? We could have you on for an entire show.
We could. Yeah.
All 3 hours.
I know one thing. I'm giving that a website address to Kylie tomorrow when I see her.
Yeah, do.
Yeah, I posted it up on our social media already.
Yeah.
Oh,
Jerry,
great.
it's great. It's great to talk to you, and I know that you're going to be out at Stan's Tailpipes and Tacos next Saturday.
I'm definitely going to try. Rain. As long as the rain doesn't show up, we'll be there.
Yeah,
No habla rain.
no habla rain, and bring one of the race cars.
I'll do that. I'll
right.
definitely do that.
Well, listen, man. Tell your brothers we said hi, and thank you very much for joining us today. Wealth of information, great stories. We appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you guys very much, and happy Easter to everyone.
Good
You
luck
too.
on that
Happy
trophy.
Easter to you as well.
Take care. All right. Time now for This Week in Auto History, and you've got a couple of minutes to do that.
So this week was the week in 1932 when Ford Motor Company publicly unveiled the flathead V8. Became quite historical in the auto world for them with the flathead V8, even to the point where John Dillinger and Clyde Barrow from Bonnie and Clyde both wrote letters to Ford talking about how much they loved the
V8.
the V8 power in their car. Great getaway cars. And then in 1970, AMC, the first company that introduced the compact car back in the 50s, they introduced the Gremlin, America's first subcompact car. AMC was the only independent car company to survive into the 70s, again, just to shortly fail thereafter. And AMC was headed by Mitt Romney's father for a period of time as well.
Oh.
In 1996, the Museum of Modern Art in New York City placed a Jaguar E-Type in its permanent exhibit just for how beautiful the car is. The E-Type is the third car to be honored by the curators in the museum's permanent exhibit. And then in 2001, Big Daddy Ed Roth, an artist and cartoonist who created the hot rod icon Rat Fink, he passed away in 2001. But Ed Roth, known for building a couple of cars, but known very much more for this image of Rat Fink. And then in 2009, Fast and Furious, the fourth film in the action movie franchise, centered around the world of illegal street racing debuts in U.S. theaters. And then just this week, Craig Breedlove passed away. And Craig Breedlove being the land speed record holder. He was the first guy to go 500 miles an hour. He's the first guy to go 600 miles an hour. And what a loss to the the motorsports world with Craig Breedlove passing at the age of 86.
Well, he lived a long life, and there's something there, because if you're doing 600 miles an hour, chances aren't good for you to survive any kind of a wreck at that speed.
And he had a couple of
doozies.
He's got the record for the longest slide. He went sideways in one of them, and they said he slid sideways for almost a mile and a half.
Can you imagine?
You talk about your sphincter tightening up.
Well, he invented the term fast recovery. So.
Yeah. Well,
so that's this week in auto history.
Thank you very much. You know, I forgive me. I'm not trying to harp on EVs, but after 12 years,
I'm calling Buzz.
After 12 years of development, a new category of range boosting battery technology is moving into mass production for electric vehicles. Scylla, a silicon-based, Valley-based battery materials company with more than $930 million in funding, says it has finalized a mass manufacturing process for the first silicon-based anodes. Scylla says Titan anodes will immediately boost maximum vehicle ranges by 20%. That's significant.
Yep. If they can pull it off.
Between 2019 and 2022, groups of Tesla employees privately shared via email and internal messaging systems sometimes highly invasive videos and images recorded by customers' car cameras. One of them was some guy walked up to his car and he was buck naked.
Yep.
They got it on the camera.
There you go.
Big Brother's watching.
Always, and especially with Teslas, because it goes directly to the factory.
Yeah,
Well,
more like
and
little brother.
you saw Elon just announced more price reductions in the Tesla model,
'cause
second time this year.
More and more competition. All right, time now for a quick break. We're going to wrap things up on today's In Wheel Time show after this.
Tailpipes and That's it for this podcast episode of the In Wheel Time Car Show. I'm Don Armstrong, inviting you to join us for our live show every Saturday morning, 8 to 11 a.m. Central on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and our InWheelTime.com website. Podcasts are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeart Podcast, Podcast Addict, TuneIn, Pandora, and Amazon Music. Keep listening, and we'll see you soon.